Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by Tim Picciott, the Liberty Advisor, and let's talk about Tesla. Everyone's talking about Tesla right now, as this article out of CNBC says. Tesla falls 21%, worst single-day loss in its history, and we have seen, well, I mean, if you actually look at their long term, it doesn't look like much, does it? But obviously, this year has been a whirlwind for Tesla stocks, and we have other articles up here, like S&P 500 adds 3 companies not named Tesla. A bit of a shocker, analyst says. Well, this was a few days ago, and obviously it definitely caused some tremors in the Tesla stock, which everyone has been talking about this year. This article out of CNBC says Tesla is a long-term buy that's just getting started. It says investor that cut stake amid sell-off, and we're going to go into that and more, including looking at some other companies' past stock performance, and obviously their stock performance doesn't equal Tesla's future stock performance. But with that said, it's interesting to look at and compare some notes on versus their charts. So we're going to go into that and more, but first make sure to hit the like button, share on social media to get around the shadow banning. Go to www.iambanned.com and sign up for a newsletter. It takes 2 seconds to put your email in, my friends. And obviously you can find ways to fund independent media by going to GoFundMe, Patreon, or Subscribestar, as we are completely viewer funded and demonetized here on YouTube because we speak the truth. It's a very extreme thing. And on top of that, of course, we are leaving YouTube by November 5th, because if we're not kicked off by then anyway, because they are going to kick us off. So make sure to go to flote.app, BitChute, LBRY, and Minds. We'll only be posting trailers to our full videos on YouTube onto the other platforms after that point. And of course, you can go to the libertyadvisor.com if you want to become a client of Tim Picciott, who is a certified financial planner. And finally, last but not least, before we get into the story, go and get the PFT Privacy Protector for the sake of your health and your privacy. Dan Dix of Press for Truth has put a lot of work into this, and we have a link below for that as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing some of your thoughts on this privacy protector. Anyway, let's get into the story here. As I mentioned before, Tesla fell 21% so far as we report this. Worst single day loss in its history, and a lot of people are saying it's just the beginning. Back at the introduction of the Cybertruck, during the failed experiment where the window broke, we all remember that, I was called crazy when I said that I actually think it was a publicity stunt and that we're going to see stocks skyrocket for Tesla. Now, of course, I never give investment advice, just my opinion, but weirdly, despite everyone thinking I was wrong, it happened, and what we saw was one of the biggest booms of any company in recent history. In fact, Tesla overtook basically every other car company. Even though the sales for all the other car companies were better, people are investing big time in Tesla because they see the future in electric cars, and we're going to get into that more in a moment. But before we go to Tim, I do want to mention this out of Market Watch. Says, panicking about Tesla? These charts will make you feel a lot better, and it brings up a good point from a lot of these beast companies. Like Apple has rallied almost 120,000%. At one point, though, it had dropped 75%. Not 1 point, 3 different times it's dropped 75% or around 75%. And they've been cut in half several other times. You could see their chart there over the years. And we also see this with Amazon has fallen 95% in the past. Of course, we saw the dot-com bubble just absolutely obliterate Amazon, and it took about 10 years for them to recover. And we have other charts like Walmart, who has seen 30% or more losses 8 times, and we're stuck in negative territory from 2000 to 2012, which is substantial to say the least, and we could get into a lot more companies. But Tim, what do you think about this recent news with Tesla? Obviously, it's a very combative issue because a lot of people like to make politics of it, but from a product standpoint, what do you think of Tesla's rise, fall, and potential future rise or potential obliteration? What do you think?
Well, not giving investment advice on this, and I've actually been wrong on this, because back when, right before Elon was saying funding secured about a year ago, saying that they were going to go be taken private at $420, I thought the idea of them being taken private was ridiculous and wasn't going to happen, which was another probably publicity stunt. But now, I mean, we're almost at the point where, okay, Tesla shares are $330, not $420, except it was now that you have 1/5, you have 5 times as many shares. So it's just keeping things in context. This has been a meteoric rise. People are still way up, but as momentum breeds more momentum. We saw it was SoftBank that was doing different option plays, which basically, long story short, is I guess no pun intended, long story short, but what was going on is that as people are buying more call options and protecting their positions, it basically just chases things higher and higher and higher. But that can unravel really quickly. You had other people who were one of the major shareholders. They didn't really sell out. They basically cut their position because all of a sudden now that position became a huge amount of their portfolio. And I've seen that with other some clients of mine as well who got into Tesla at their own doing, not at my doing. I wish I could take the credit for that, but I'm not. And we've had to think about cutting their exposure a little bit because all of a sudden now it's X% of their portfolio, and now if Tesla goes up, I don't know the exact amount it's up, but all of a sudden now what was 5% of the portfolio could now be 25% of someone's portfolio. And so just from a risk standpoint, I see it probably is a wise idea to take some profits at this stage of the game. You had also had people who were front running the decision to include them into the S&P 500 index, although that didn't happen. And so it was probably going to be sold buy the rumor, sell the news regardless. And then you had the stock split that happened recently. But having a stock split should not be a reason for a stock to go up. So it's like if I have a company worth $1 million and I have 1 million shares, and then now I say, okay, I want to have 5 million shares, should my company be worth 50% more just because now I have more shares? No, it's just absolutely.
And I mean, it's crazy because in 1 year it went about 10x. I mean, on May 31st of 2019, a Tesla stock was $37.03, and then at its peak, it was $442 on August 28th, and obviously that's substantial. But I mean, why would anybody be surprised about people selling off? I mean, why wouldn't they sell off? Like any smart investor sees their money just tripling and quadrupling and going up tenfold. Eventually, at some point, you got to pull the curtain closed on that. And it's funny because we do have people that are actually getting out of Tesla right now that are saying, "Look, I'm getting out of Tesla because I just made a ton of money. I'm not bearish on Tesla. It just makes sense to make some money off it."
And if you are one of those people, I do help plan for charitable giving planning strategies where you could actually sell without having to pay capital gains. If you have large like 6-7 figure type gains, that might be a strategy that's appropriate for you.
TheLibertyAdvisor.com, my friends. You can find the link below. But Tim, before we get into this any further, I want to talk about the electric car industry as a whole, because look, the interesting thing is that we have a lot of competition in this industry right now, and people are making politics of it. And the big old guard system, we've talked a lot lately about the old guard system being replaced by the new guard system. We have companies like Nikola, for example, and as you could see, this article out of CNBC says Nikola shares pop as much as 53% after General Motors takes 11% stake in electric truck maker. And interestingly, on top of Nikola getting this investment from General Motors, we also have a lot of examples of Rivian. For example, Rivian's another big competitor against Tesla, something that I've been interested in for a while, and I'm not giving any investment advice. I just want to make that completely clear. This is my opinion, but I feel like if this market is going to blow up, it would be good to get just look at anyway the main competitors with Tesla. And Rivian got investments from Ford, and Ford wanted to make a Ford Rivian Lincoln electric cruiser. And so again, they canceled those plans for now during this recession, as they call it. I think it's more of a depression, but nonetheless, there's a lot of talk about Ford getting back into Rivian, GM getting into Nikola, and trying to push Elon Musk, who is very unpredictable, whether you trust him or not. He's very different from the majority of the people that you're dealing with in the markets. Not conventional at all. It looks like they're trying to push him out of the market. Now, with that said, I wanted to hear your thoughts, Tim, on electric cars going forward versus combustion engines.
Well, if you had one of the Neuralinks, you wouldn't have to hear my thoughts because you would just already have it. Maybe that's part of Elon's brilliance, is that he'll just get himself a Neuralink or some of his minions, and they'll be able to be 2 steps ahead of everybody else. Sort of joking there, but unfortunately, also not joking with that. But yeah, Nikola, based here right in Phoenix, popped huge today, up 53%, and that is relatively big news. But for me, it's almost more of a battery play with Tesla more so than anything, because at the rate they're going, some of their competitors might have to even buy their batteries from Tesla. So I see that being more of a battery play. I used to have Tesla on top of my roof, solar panels before I sold my home. But they're also, from an accounting standpoint, it seems like they do a lot of like chicanery and trickery in terms of different carbon credits that they end up getting, and then if you actually back out the carbon credits and some other accounting gimmicks that they're pulling on, that the financials actually don't look as good. But then again, Amazon financials look like crap up until the point they were getting massive CIA contracts to. And this is I'm not just saying that, but they are getting CIA contracts to build up the cloud infrastructure. If you back that out, I mean, yeah, Amazon has tons of revenue, but they make very, very, very little profit. I think a couple of years ago, there was one quarter where Apple had more profit in one quarter than Amazon had in its entire history. Again, profit versus revenue, two different things. And, and right now, Tesla as a company isn't really that profitable. But, if you were to be shorting them or going against them, it would have been a very, very bad move for you. So I'm not recommending anybody does that. In the long term, it's, and who knows at this point? Anytime something goes up, 1,000%, you should be very leery, especially, chasing it into the biggest bubble. And the other point you brought up is, if we're going into a depression, who's got, 80 G's laying around to go buy, another vehicle at this point? They're probably going to want to do something more economical. But at this point, the stock market is pretty much almost at all-time highs. Not obviously, it's gone down a lot the past 3 days.
Well, everyone's going and getting RVs, and the fishing rods are flying off the shelf, and everyone's buying guns right now. So it's not really the time where I expect a whole bunch of people to be flooding to these things. But I mean, look at that Nikola truck. That looks awesome. I definitely, like, if I had money, I would buy one of those for sure. I mean, it's a beautiful looking truck. Now, how does it drive? That's another question. And how fast is it charged? That's another question. And also, it's not. It can ball bearings. And also, on top of that, I do want to point out that, again, this isn't about environmentalism at all to me. In fact, government is the biggest polluter in the world, and they are big funders, and they give big grants to these companies. It actually pollutes more in a lot of ways to produce the electricity for a lot of these Teslas, and in some cases, like the lithium and stuff like that they get. I mean, and you're producing electricity by coal power, by lithium, by all these other things that pollute way more. It's total virtue signaling. But with that said, I actually do think long term it is a good market. The government should never pull the rug out from underneath the oil industry, which is propped up by the government in the first place, because that would put an insane amount of people out of work. But with that said, I do think the markets naturally fluctuate to the next best thing, and I do believe that we're slowly walking away from the oil industry. Now, there'll still be petroleum. The petroleum industry will still be involved in the electric car industry, ironically enough, and so I do, pharmaceuticals, clothing, anything you're wearing right now, or the table that you're sitting in front of has some petroleum products in it to some degree. So that's also worth pointing out. Anyway, I wanted to go into this because it's a big story and everyone's talking about it, and obviously Apple is blowing up right now too. I'm not sure what they did today, but obviously the stock market has been in the downward trajectory the last couple of days. But nonetheless, I mean, Apple has been substantial, and again, these are beast companies that work for, and this is just me speaking, that are tied in with this global establishment that's trying to track us and work with the Chinese government to unroll a global cashless technocratic society. So I'm not promoting them at all. I'm just telling the news, my friends. Don't shoot the messenger. Anyway, Tim, final words going forward on like the electric car industry and how far you see this really moving.
I think the new ones can move 600 miles in the range. No, just kidding. But I mean, I do see this obviously being a move to the future. I know a lot of people who personally would like to get a Cybertruck or one of the competitors themselves. I'm one of them, but I don't necessarily want to be the test dummy on this. So I think it's an industry that's here to stay. It's obviously that's where everything is being pushed. For me personally, I do want to end up getting one of these. But for me, I also live in a place where I could power it by solar power. So if you're living in somewhere else and you can't get solar and you're just plugging it in, you want to go. That's obviously not our viewers or not the people who are going to be virtue signaling to this. But I remember once I was sitting in a cafe in San Diego and I actually overheard these liberals actually talking about how it actually wasn't that environmentally friendly to be driving Priuses and stuff like that. And my head was like, I'm like, oh my god, am I really like hearing this conversation right now? Yeah. But yeah,
they actually see the reality. Well, My microphone's about to die, so I gotta go right away, guys. Gotta change the batteries. Anyway, make sure to hit that like button, check those links below. Become a client of Tim Picciott by going to thelibertyadvisor.com, reach out to him, of course, and of course, share on social media to get around the shadow banning. Go to iambanned.com in order to sign up for our newsletter. And of course, we are completely viewer funded, so GoFundMe, Patreon, subscribe to our Bitcoin, all those things linked below are very helpful to keep independent media alive because the establishment doesn't want us talking about these things. Of course, join us on Flote.app, BitChute, LBRY, and Minds, and of course, you can get the new PFT privacy protector at the link below. So make sure to get one of those. It's good for your health, good for your security, good for your privacy. So anyway, we'll continue to go into that as things elapse. Anyway, I appreciate everyone watching. I'm rushing out of here. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and Tim Picciott signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. My friends, it is go time. We are completely demonetized on YouTube, and we depend on the viewer to stay alive and spread the message of freedom and truth. So check those links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar, anything you guys could do to help keep independent media alive helps enormously in helping spread this message to the masses. So make sure to check those links. Donate to our Bitcoin address on the screen or below. We really appreciate anything you could do to keep us alive. You could check those links below for Cointree as well, where you can find other cryptocurrencies that you can donate and keep WAM alive. Find us on flote.app, flote.app, as well as BitChute and LBRY and Minds. We're on all the other platforms. We are leaving YouTube soon, so make sure to find us at those sites because it's the only way we can keep talking to you, the masses, the great people that actually care about the future of free humanity. Also, join our new newsletter at www.iambanned.com. Anything helps at this point, guys. We need to support free information online. This is the most difficult time in our history, and it takes a lot of hard work to keep our message alive in the face of great evils that have taken over the propaganda news on television as well as on YouTube, where YouTube decides what you can or cannot see. We need your help, my friends. So I really appreciate anything you guys can do. Check those links. There's many ways you can help. Until next time, though, thanks, everyone. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.